So in today's episode of the RAG podcast, I interviewed Elaine Tyler, the CEO and founder of Venatrix. Venatrix are a SaaS sales-based recruitment business, part of the Recruitment Entrepreneur, backed by James Caan Portfolio. 3.5 years old. She's now got 7 staff. They've done over 600 placements across 300 clients in 3.5 years, which is remarkable. Extremely powerful female. You can see her as a leader. Give some really, really good insights into starting a recruitment business in a slightly different style, because obviously backed by James Caan, she walked into a big office with everything you could imagine required to start a business at scale. And then the reality of what it was like to grow to where she is today. For anyone thinking, do they want to start a recruitment company on their own or potentially get backed and invested by a separate party, this one's for you. So without further ado, so Elaine, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No problem. You arrived on time, which is always nice. Mm-hmm. I'd say at least 50% of my guests have been late.
Well, that's not very good when they're arranging interviews on other people's behalf, is it?
You know what? Recruiters pride themselves on punctuality, but when it's all about media and marketing, they seem to drop it. But Elaine, look, I'm really excited about this episode. I've mentioned you in the intro, but I can never do it justice. So could you, for the listeners, give us a brief overview of who you are and what you're up to?
Yeah, absolutely. So I run a company called Venatrix, and we are a SaaS sales recruitment business, predominantly focused on placing graduates into sales development representative businesses.
Right, okay.
And we've placed with around 300 clients, 600 people. We've operated internationally, but most of the business is focused in London. And recently we have grown our offering to also place account executives and customer success managers as well.
So they're a bit more senior, effectively?
Yeah, and the idea behind that is so that we can offer a service to both our candidates and our clients that's a bit more rounded and a bit more kind of cradle to grave in terms of supporting people either through their careers or also supporting people growing their businesses through hiring more people into different positions.
Wow, so 3.5 years. Mm-hmm. How fast has it gone?
Oh my goodness me. Extremely fast. I can't believe how long the business has now been operating.
Well, I remember I don't think we spoke, but I remember you got up at the event we hosted with Recruitment Entrepreneur last July. I think it was early July, wasn't it?
Yes.
In Manchester.
Yes.
And I remember you speaking, and I feel like I've just blinked an eye, and that was a year ago.
Yeah, I can't believe
where
it.
the hell has that gone? So I started this business 2 years ago in March, so just over 2 years now. And again, I don't know if every year seems to get faster, but when you're a business owner, I feel like things are just like amplified.
Mm-hmm. And I think that you also almost forget what it is that you've achieved.
But you don't appreciate it, do you?
No, like it's almost like you have a memory blank from what it was like 3.5 years ago to what it's like now, and that time seems to have just fast forwarded so quickly that one of the things I always think is really important to do is sometimes get together with the team and talk about the progressions that we've had as a business over that time, just to remind ourselves of the journey that we've been, particularly obviously working in a really fast-paced environment.
Well, you find, especially in the early days as well, like you reinvent yourself every 3 to 6 months as a business. Like you look back and go, were we really that? Were we doing that? Was that what we were like? Which I can't remember experiencing before doing this. Mm-hmm. But look, this ain't about me. So obviously this podcast is all about finding out your story from both becoming an owner, being a recruiter, and then why you started the agency and what it's really been like since you started it. Because I think there's so many people out there that are thinking, I want to be a recruitment owner, but don't really know what it's going to be like. So hopefully by sharing stories like yourselves. So take us back. So 3.5 years ago you started, but that can't be the time when you decided in your head when you wanted to be a recruitment owner. So can you remember when you first decided, look, I'm going to start a company?
Yeah, I think I always had the ambition to potentially start a business,
right.
But I think realistically my kind of salesmanship actually started when I was like 14 years old, realistically, because the first couple of jobs that I had were all commission focused.
Really?
Yeah, I used to work in a shop in Blackpool, selling t-shirts on the front for like £3.50, and they used to give me like 10% commission for each one I'd sold. Yeah, and I was like made more money than all of my friends, and I was like super duper proud of it. And then I worked like selling shots in a nightclub as well, like totally on commission.
I did that.
And smashed it out the park every Saturday night in the Syndicate in Blackpool.
That's the one with the revolving dance floor,
yeah,
isn't it?
it doesn't
That's famous
exist
back
anymore.
up north, isn't it? Well, I was in Sheffield and I worked for, do you remember Vodka Kick, VK?
Yeah.
So I finished uni, got a job with VK. I was teaching at the time, and then I was working for VK at the weekends. And it got to the point where some of my students were popping into clubs, and I was like, Mr. Anderson's now got a VK t-shirt on and he's selling shots in the corner. So I got told I had to quit. Sorry, I just thought I'd jump in
But
there.
it's literally
You were a bit younger than me, I think.
literally selling shots is one of the things that I now ask the team to search for when we're looking for like
Really?
potential salespeople. Yeah,
'Cause you
or
just gotta
ticket
go over
sales,
and-
or
yeah.
just builds your confidence, doesn't it, and shows that you want to work for commission and get results. And my dad also inspired me because he has his own jewellery business. So I used to work on his jewellery stall as well. And yeah, he used to pay me in commission too. So then I always probably had the sense that I wanted to do something that was very results orientated. And then I went to Leeds University where I studied management and graduated in, I think 3.5 years is a long time ago, 2008. And then I ended up going to a selection day for a recruitment company based in Manchester.
Who was that?
A company called Celsius.
I don't know. I think I've heard the name, yeah. They're still going?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I don't know them very well.
And they selected me to basically join their business.
So it was direct with them?
Yes.
See, I went to, do you remember Pareto Law? They're still going, aren't they?
Yeah.
I went to a day in Wilmslow with them. This is a story. So I'd finished uni, and it was in between becoming a teacher. I wanted to get into sales, and I was going to do like maybe car sales, or I seen a Pareto Law day in Wilmslow. So I rocked up. I literally had no idea that I wore a brown shirt, short sleeved, with a brown tie, with suede shoes and some absolute like lost property trousers. Rocked up to this day, and everyone's dressed in full suits. I imagine it's what people look like at your assessment days, like
Indeed.
really slick. And I was like, what the hell? And the guy just turned around and was like, can you do your top button up, mate? And I was like, I ended up getting through. Taught my way. I didn't get a job via them. I was in like they sent me out to like construction software companies and all sorts, but they did send to recruitment companies. But you went direct to Celsius.
Well, they were assessing people for sales opportunities, but then they approached me and said, do you want to work for this business? So I started working for them.
Is that in town centre or
in Sale.
in Sale? Okay.
Yeah. So I started working for them in 2008, started basically as a resourcer. It captured my imagination. I enjoyed speaking to candidates, quickly moved on to BD.
2008 was a tough time.
Really hard. So, I mean, literally as I kind of started work, Lehman Brothers crashed and obviously the whole economy went into recession, and nobody was really taking anybody on, let alone, salespeople with limited experience. So at that time, it really was a tough sell. But in one way, I'm almost pleased that was the beginning of my career, because it taught me in the really tough times, like how to be resourceful and how to actually do successful BD against all the odds. And I had some great mentors there, so I had a really good time. Worked my way up from being a resourcer to becoming a director of that business, and then I'd committed 7 years of my career to that company, and I knew it was time for the next thing. So
so you were based in Sale all the time, were you?
Moved down to London halfway through.
Okay. And was it the same recruitment you do now?
Well, similar. So we're very focused on the SaaS industry.
Right.
There are a couple of different companies in our industry placing graduates into sales positions, but the difference with Venatrix is that we specifically focus on SaaS businesses.
Right, okay. Software as a service, if anyone's listening and doesn't know what that means. Not every industry will know that. Okay, so 7 years. At what point did you think, right, I'm definitely going to be a business owner?
So I think that I was approaching my 30th birthday, so I was kind of 29 years old, and I think that that was quite pertinent in me thinking about, like, right, what is it that I really want to do?
The exact same thing.
What is it that I really want to do now, and like what do I want the next 10 years of my life to look like? And I ended up attending an event where I met James Caan, and pretty much that was kind of the catalyst for it. Because
where was that?
It was actually in a lawyer's office, because it was an event focused around like the legality of the recruitment industry, basically, and just giving people like hints and tips. And it was a bit of kind of a dual partnership between Recruitment Entrepreneur and this legal firm. So then I ended up having a conversation with him at the end of the meeting, and it inspired me, because it made me think, like, well, what could I do if maybe I put my skills to the test running my own company with a slightly different focus.
Were you going to that meeting already knowing that you were kind of thinking about? You wouldn't. It's not the sort of meeting people go to if they're just working for someone else.
Yeah, I think at the beginning of that year, I'd had thoughts that I wanted to do something different because I'd spent a long time and it was time for a new challenge.
Didn't think of joining another company?
I think I had thought about joining other companies, but I don't know if at any point I'd kind of seen an opportunity that had made me feel inspired. And I was kind of, I was still having a good time in my previous business, so it wasn't like I was hunting out that next thing. I was kind of ready for it, open to it. And then when the conversation presented itself that was the right one, then I went with it, basically.
So tell me what happened after that meeting.
So after I spoke with James, we ended up having a conversation. I introduced myself to him, and pretty much after getting a bit of a sense of who I was and what I was about, he put me onto his team of strategists, basically, where then we began to flesh out an idea and a concept of how a business would look and what it would take to set it up, and what it would mean and what its actual reason for existing would be, and who it's going to serve, and what its personality would be, and who would be the personality of the staff, and then obviously looking at all the numbers.
So is this while you were still working for the other company, or did you finish up?
Yeah, no, I was still working.
Yeah. And what does Venatrix mean?
It means the huntress.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So the idea behind that is obviously, I guess I'm the huntress and my salespeople are the hunters and huntresses as well, looking for candidates and clients, but then also the people we place. So SDRs are typically qualifying opportunities on behalf of our clients as well. And my mum came up with it.
I love it.
So thanks, Mum.
Well done, Mum. Well, mine Hoxo was originally going to be Noxo with an N. And then my brother texted me going, have you seen this? And he sent me a link to the Urban Dictionary, and the word Noxo in the Urban Dictionary means a homosexual mammal.
Oh, right.
So nothing wrong with homosexual mammals if they're out there, but I didn't think it was the right starting foot. So we probably bought about 50 domains. Finding a name was tough. Was that the first one you come up with, or did you get a lot of randomness?
Yeah, I think so. I think at that time, I was really conscious of making sure that the name that we had was going to be suitable for cold calling, i.e. that no one's going to know what it was, or that it was a recruitment company. So I really wanted it to be kind of obscure. It came up pretty quickly, and then I just thought, right, I'm going to go with it. So
you had the meetings, you're coming up with a name. At what point did you decide, I'm going to do this, and sign contracts with James and his team?
So it's pretty much when I'd put all the numbers together, looked at what I thought the business could look like in the first year, and when I felt confident that was going to be something that I was actually going to be able to deliver. And that probably took about 3 iterations for me to think, right, that's what I can now deliver over the next 12 months.
And what do they bring to the table? Obviously, for those who don't know, most people know James Caan made his money and his fame in the recruitment industry with Alexander Mann, etc. But Recruitment Entrepreneur is a portfolio, isn't it? I think there was about 16 businesses last year. I don't know if there's any more, but on paper, the fastest growing recruitment company in the world, because it's a group of companies that are just rapidly scaling globally. And I imagine there's loads of people interested in those models, but are a little bit nervous to know, is it really mine, or how does it work? What was the process like, and what did they offer that you couldn't do yourself?
So I think that they offer you an accelerated path to do what a successful recruitment company can do. The offering is in some parts support, so basically around the business function. So instead of you focusing your time on looking at your finances and thinking about your invoices, when some of the podcasts I've listened to, sounds like that's been a challenge for some of the owners.
100% it's a challenge,
when you're suddenly thrust into dealing with all the back office stuff that realistically you're not used to, particularly when if you've come from recruitment as a salesperson, recruiter, or a leader in a business, then that can be challenging. So I've never really dealt with things to do with the back office organisation piece. From a support perspective as well, we get marketing support. So there's a joint function that helps all the different businesses and tells the story of the different businesses, write blogs, promotes us as a whole portfolio, and that can obviously help you with candidate, client, staff attraction.
And saying you're part of James Caan's conglomerate or whatever, I imagine has got some weight when you're talking to clients as well.
Yeah.
Everyone recognises him, especially in this country.
Yeah, and to the candidates too, because if you think about our candidate pool being young people
watching The Apprentice.
Well, yeah, watching The Apprentice or Dragon's Den, which he was on.
Dragon's Den. Yeah, why the hell did I think it was The Apprentice? I interviewed the guy who's in with Alan Sugar, Ricky Martin, didn't I? So that's why he's in my head. But yeah, of course, Dragon's Den. Everyone knows him.
Yeah, and they can be very sceptical because they've never had a call from a recruitment company before. They don't even know sometimes what recruitment companies do or like how they charge or what that really means and do I have to take the job and all this sort of stuff. So having that name obviously helps them understand that there's a bit of credibility between Venatrix and somebody else is invested in it. So that's kind of like support functions anyway. And then beyond that, there's kind of the business planning piece. So on a monthly basis, I sit down with senior figures who run the RE portfolio. Essentially, there's a gentleman there called Abid Hamid who used to be the business development director of S3, and he kind of chairs our board meetings, and we have conversations there about strategy, about business development, about the individuals in our team, what we're going to do to develop them. And obviously that gives you huge guidance as somebody who's starting a business who's had limited experience of doing that before.
So how long was that process before, from the meeting of the night when you met him to the signing of the contract?
Pretty quick.
Was it?
Yeah, like I think 2 months end to end,
really?
I'd probably say, yeah.
So that was 3.5 years ago, so we're talking about the new year of 2016, is it? 15.
Yeah, I started in August 2015.
Right, that's nearly 4 years then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. So then you had to quit your job and kick it off. And did you go straight into the offices over in South Kensington?
Yeah.
So what was that like? Because obviously most people's startup stories are in the back of a shed or in a box room with a mate or on their own and a phone book. What was yours like?
Well, I think it was still like that, but in a nice office.
Right, so it looked great, but it was still...
Yeah. I remember like walking there on the first day and you think you're going to be like cool, calm, collected. Yeah, I've got this. Like I've just backed myself. I've done the plan 3 times and really thought about it before I've like signed the piece of paper. And, I've co-invested. I've put my money into it. So, it is like my baby and I'm going to go and make it happen. And you walk up the middle of that room when there's all these businesses. Obviously it is the beauty of the portfolio that realistically there are 17, maybe 20 now other businesses who can all tell the story to you about how they first started their business, and you can see that they've got 10 people, 15 people around a desk, people around you are doing it, but then you're sat there on your own. And I'd obviously been a director of another company where I was getting thousands and thousands of emails a day, and then all of a sudden I didn't have an email signature and nobody
that was one of the biggest realizations for me when we started. Was like, I've set up this Google Gmail account, Hoxo Media, and no one's emailed me. No one's got my email address. No, I remember that.
Not even getting any spam.
No, nothing. Come on, anyone. Stay out Windows, get in touch. So, how long did you have any break before you started it? Straight in? And did you have a restrictive covenant you had to worry about your old clients?
Yes, obviously.
So how did you go to market then to make sure you protected yourself?
Yeah, so I didn't contact any of the candidates or clients that I'd previously been working with, but I do think that in the market that I work in, it's big enough for everybody anyway. So the first thing I did was I attended an event where I knew there was going to be some companies that I could recruit for, and I walked out of there with 5 job specs.
Really?
Yeah.
Clever. How soon was that?
Day 2.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, there was no, what else was I doing, really? Yeah. Wasn't answering emails or the phone. So it was time to go and get some business. And,
how soon did you do your first deal?
Placed people within the first 8 weeks.
Really?
Yeah. Started invoices out the door.
Wow.
Done.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I was really, really pleased with that.
Did you find, got straight back into it, or was there did you feel a little bit different because you were on your own?
I think a bit of both. So obviously, I was doing recruitment, which I've been doing for the past 7 years. You're suddenly faced with new challenges and things that you've got to solve independently, particularly in my business because we run assessment centres to find the candidates. It's kind of like the part where you go from, okay, so there's just me, to run an assessment centre, there's definitely going to have to be more than just me. Yeah. And in order for me to be credible, I need to get some clients. Yeah. So I've got some clients, 5 job specs on board, started advertising, people saw it, somebody messaged me and I thought, right, I'm going to interview you. And then I was off the block then with staff, which then meant I could run assessment centres and then started placing people.
Well, so you hired someone straight away to come and help you with it?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean,
See, that's the power of something like Recruitment Entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't do that yourself.
Yeah, so it gives you the... like you say, it gives you the pull and also like the capital and the confidence to like start making hires, basically.
Yeah, make an investment in it. So what were the first 3 months like? Can you remember?
Fun, exciting, scary. I mean, I think that when you first do it, you do get that sense of, oh my goodness me, what have I done? Because obviously you've walked out of a job where you are respected, you've got clients, you've got candidates, you've got staff, you're getting well paid, and all of a sudden that's all on the line and you've risked it all.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. And sometimes you still feel that like that now, don't you? Even when you're like down the path of thinking this is tough sometimes. So I guess that feeling, it doesn't go away, it kind of dissipates over time.
Well, I did it different, didn't I? So I absolutely completely changed my market, my job, my industry, everything, and started a company. So it was like, in one way, it was easier because I had no fear. Like I'd not done it, so I'd not sold marketing before. So I was like, this isn't even work. I was thinking, this isn't work. This isn't like calling candidates all day or whatever. But then quite quickly, I've realised like, what have I done? After about 6 weeks, 8 weeks, I was like, this would have been a hell of a lot easier if I just carried on ringing contractors in the insurance market that I knew inside out. But either way, one of the other things I think that I experienced that a lot of people I've spoken to experience is, well, especially when you've been a director, you've not necessarily been as hands-on for a while. Like you've been more about people management and strategy, and then you go back to being the person who does 360 end to end. How did you find getting back on the phones and generating candidates and doing everything that you might not have done for a couple of years before? Yeah,
so to be honest, that's probably the part of the job, one of the parts of the job that I do love the most. So business development is something that I do really enjoy. It's like one of the reasons why I opened Venatrix anyway, because I feel really passionate about sales as an industry, which is why I enjoy placing salespeople and giving young people the opportunity to go and do a sales job. So I love picking up the phone and going through the process of convincing somebody to want to use our services. So I enjoyed that part of the job and getting back on the phone and doing it in the brand that was something I'd established. I felt proud to do. Yeah. And I was pleased to do that.
So the 3 months in, it's fun, it's exciting, you're starting to make money, you've got a new starter. What was the rest of year one like?
Again, full of excited anticipation, really, because that first year, although you've got that fear that I mentioned, everything that you do is a new first, isn't it? So the first time you make over £20,000 in a month is amazing, and then when you do £50,000 in a month, that seems like it completely something you were never going to achieve a couple of months ago. So I think that those milestones really spur you on and give you the confidence to know that you're heading in the right track. And when you've got a team around you doing it, that shared excitement is really fun, and also is really gratifying as well.
So what went wrong in year one?
What went wrong in year one? I feel like over time I've had like such a continuation of things going right and wrong that it's difficult for me to distinguish like one thing that's necessarily.
Is there any lessons you think you learned or things you look back on?
Lessons learned. I think as I've matured into my role as a leader, one of the things that I'm now getting better at is having a long-term view, because I've been really focused around BD, because I work on what you would potentially deem as a quick sales cycle, because I might be placing people who don't have a job, and because I thrive in the kind of salesy part of my business, that can make me very kind of like day to day. And obviously in the first year you are very day to day, because it is difficult to imagine what it's going to look like in a couple of months' time. So I think that over time, and as my business has matured, you then start thinking more in like what's it going to look like in the end of this quarter, what's going to happen in 6 months' time, and then start to plan accordingly and shape how you want the business to become.
So at the end of year 1, how big was the team then?
5 people.
Wow. That's quite fast growth.
Yeah. So I think we grew very quickly in the first year. And then since then we've stayed stable around about the number that we're at now. And I think, another key lesson for us has been making sure we really bring the right people on into the team, and then make sure we're investing them and giving them the skills to touch all the parts of the job that they're interested in.
Do you find that, obviously, when you're looking for young, sales-hungry candidates, you've got that flow for yourself then, haven't you? You can just turn it on. Do you find that the same candidates that work for your SaaS clients are the ones that you would want for Venatrix?
Yeah, so predominantly we've hired everybody off the assessment centre who's in the team.
Yeah.
Which I think is a good way to get their buy-in, because obviously they've then been through the process. They've spoken to recruitment companies normally in the job search process that they've just been through. One of the elements about our value proposition that we offer to candidates is that we do believe we go into greater depth and try and understand the candidates a little bit more in the initial phone screen and throughout the assessment centre. So normally the people that we end up hiring have just experienced our service and can see why we might be different from other people in the marketplace. So they tend to approach the interview and the process with like a positive attitude towards what it might be like to work at Venatrix, because they know they might be doing this similar job that somebody's just done with them, basically.
They can associate to the candidates as well, can't they? Because they've been there and it's similar age and similar backgrounds. I think the model's great. It's really, I can see obviously we've got a similar business in Connect that helps with recruitment companies, but is it a similar model? We do a lot of it through social advertising, but for me it's that the reason we started this business was the amount of recruitment companies saying to us when we were doing the marketing, can you help us with talent, and graduates are one route, but actually there's loads of great people that are in random jobs. Like my brother is Oliver James in Manchester, and he's doing really well in their perm team, and he was working for a pensions administration company, like bored out of his mind, when me and my other brother were in recruitment, and we got him into it, and he's done brilliant. He was their employee of the year last year. He was 30 and didn't really know what he was doing. He was a graduate 7, 8, 9 years before, but I think there's so many of those people that are out there that would love a job in either sales or recruitment that just don't know it exists. Haven't got a clue. So year 1 sounds like getting to 5. You must be feeling a bit more comfortable now, a bit more confident in yourself as a business owner. What happened in year 2?
So in year 2, we had a really exciting year, actually, because we had the opportunity to do some recruitment abroad. And I think that's kind of what punctuates that year for me, if you will. So we delivered a campaign for a company based in the UK. Right. And they asked us to find 10 people for them who all spoke different languages. And for the business that we were kind of a year in, 5 people, majority of people like graduates basically, with limited experience themselves doing the job. It was a real win for us when we got that client on board, and then when we delivered for them, the day was like the best assessment centre we'd ever done. There was 39 candidates in the room. Wow. All of them were really credible. The company were, said themselves they were, really impressed and spoiled for choice. And off the back of that great work, they then recommended us to their American office, basically in New York. So all of a sudden, I've gone from a business with no clients, no customers, no email signature, to less than 18 months later, contemplating flying out to New York to go and run an assessment centre in a different time zone with different candidates, where realistically, we don't have the actual full-on know-how about how to source these people and to deliver again to the same standard that just been the best assessment centre. And
locals in New York as well. Wow.
Yes.
And did you do that?
Yes.
How did you get on?
We smashed it. So we placed 7 people with the company. Basically just did a load of research into thinking about where we're going to find the candidates from. The beauty of how we've built the business now in terms of our candidate generation is we do a lot through referral, and we found that was very useful in the market in New York as well. So just making sure everybody's asking the question with all the candidates, getting your market knowledge. And then, the team did a fantastic job. We stayed late night it was, classic selling to America
5 hours
stuff.
behind,
yeah, indeed. And then, we turned up there, and it was me and two of my senior team members got on the plane to go there, and that was probably one of my proudest moments so far of Venatrix, I would say, because it just seemed like we'd achieved beyond what we were potentially capable of if you consider us on paper.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. I mean, to do that in such a short period of time, and I bet there's a lot of unknowns when you first took that project on. Like you've got to, as a small business, you've got to say yes to things that you might be like, ooh, I don't know exactly what we're going to do, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, and we really didn't want to lose the credibility with the client that we've been working with in the UK, as particularly they'd recommended us in.
Exactly. One thing I'm interested in, I guess I think it'd be different because you're part of the portfolio, but to be a recent business owner, 12 months in, have 5 relatively junior members of staff, how do you manage that? How do you manage BD, all the business bit, and training and development of 5 people? Like, that's a lot on for someone in the first year, after 1 year.
Yeah, that's really hard. And I think that one of the key points about Venatrix specifically is somebody from my previous business joined me, who was very, very strong for BD.
Right.
So I think that gave us a huge advantage there.
Someone with experience.
Yeah. So like kind of 2 to 3 years I think into her career at that time, she stepped in and then pretty much was able to carry a lot of the BD for certainly the initial part of the business being around. So that helped because then we were exposing more junior people to the candidate side.
Yeah.
But I think that hiring junior people is a commitment. So you have to understand that when you take those people on board, they're not necessarily going to be able to do all parts of the job.
No.
It probably takes them 12 months to really understand where, the actual, realistically, what it is they're trying to achieve on a daily basis. And then from there, you can start to look to develop their skills, whether it's going to be like BD, management, more candidate focused.
Do you have a 180 model where there's certain people doing just BD and certain people just doing candidates?
Yes, and then but then over time, as people get more experience, they want to do more than that. So then we'll have people who do 360, some people doing 180.
Do you do like one-off contingent stuff as well as events, or is it just the assessment centre based?
Yeah, so in the SDR division, so that's the majority of our business for now. That's all focused around running an assessment centre on a Wednesday,
right.
Which we really enjoy doing. Typically 20 candidates will join us on that day, and we'll put them through their paces in different group exercises, and we meet some characters, so like you say, the person in like the mismatched clothes and that sort of stuff. But recently we have relaxed actually the dress code because we recruit for tech companies, so they can be either be smart or smart casual, but not smart casual or casual smart. So we'll see what their interpretation of that is. And then obviously do different exercises across the course of the day, spend 7 hours typically with the candidates, so hopefully we get a good sense of who they are at the end of the day before introducing them to companies.
Do you invite more than, you just have that internal, or do you invite clients to that event?
Clients come, clients can pitch. They normally have lunch with the graduates as well, which gives them an opportunity to get to know them better.
Great.
And then once we place the candidates, we also do training. So once a candidate's taken a job through Venatrix, they then come back and complete our 8-module sales training program.
Great.
And that takes place on a Friday in our WeWork. So, we go and have a drink with them afterwards, go and find out how their jobs are doing. And I think this week, actually, we've had a bit of a media storm. I think you'll be proud of me. And we got 462, I think it was, likes on a picture.
Wow.
Yeah, that's basically a picture that one of the candidates has sent to one of the consultants. Sorry, not a picture, a present that one of the candidates has sent to one of the consultants to say thank you. Not to me.
That's in your team.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's usually the other way around, right?
Yeah, so that's good. I think that kind of shows the fun element of placing young candidates basically into positions, because they're super duper grateful, which is good.
Yeah, it sounds good. So that second year you made international placements. What's been the third and I guess the most recent year been like? Has there been any change there?
So I think that we've probably matured in our approach and refined our market further. So we've always had this SaaS focus, but in our third year and probably up to now, it's become our real niche. And we've got to the point where we have generated enough client relationships that if people don't fit that, we will politely say there's probably a better supplier for you, basically, which we might not have done in years 1 and year 2.
You just took business on in them days.
I mean, I think naturally you do.
Yeah,
because you're obviously trying to make sure that you're establishing yourself as an actual business. Whereas now, I think that niche really is our strength. And when we're pitching to clients, they're interested in the fact that we are focused specifically around the SaaS industry, that we understand our market, that we're going to be able to present that properly to candidates. And I think that candidates know when they're coming to Venatrix what type of job that is that they're going to get. So I think that that's kind of really defined our
I love that you've got
offering to
that
the market.
specific niche. Obviously, I get asked all the time, like, why the hell do you only work with recruitment businesses? Like, sales is in so many industries. And it's true, like inbound marketing for what we do, like Hoxo Media, you could go out and sell it to SaaS companies, you could sell it to fintech companies, sell it to anyone who's got a sales front office sales team. But the difference is the niche, because the way I look at it is we sit ourselves right in the middle of HubSpot, the inbound system, LinkedIn, and the recruitment agency world. And as long as we know those three really, really fucking well, like you're going to be hard to find another agency that knows all three. They'll usually know 2 or 1, but to get that blend, and it's the same for you, because you know the graduate model and you know the SaaS market really, really well, and it's that kind of people want you. I think moving forward, people want to buy from people that are just purely about them,
specialists.
Yeah. Do you come up against more generalist sales recruitment companies and find that it's
sometimes, you know what, really not often. And like we're talking in the evolution of the company, like less and less as time's gone on.
Really?
Because I think the part of the beauty of our market is the companies tend to share maybe investors themselves, and sometimes they all partner with each other. So if you have successfully worked with a business, they're likely to recommend you. And we do get a lot of business via referral, which again is like kind of testament to the team and the hard work that they do and the deliverables that we are able to achieve in terms of finding good people for businesses, which is fab. We've also started sponsoring an event which is called Sales Confidence. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, we talked about it. Remember the James Ski guy?
Yeah, indeed. Oh yeah.
So hello, James. I don't really know you, but I saw you get on stage with Gary Vee and blag your way on. So well done on that. But I've seen a lot of his stuff, and he's got some talent, that kid, and he's obviously got a big audience as well.
Yeah, and again, that's brought us closer to our market. So now on a monthly basis, we are stood with the people we're recruiting. We see our candidates there, we see our clients there, and just improving our market knowledge of everything that's going on in the SaaS industry. I think has been our evolution in our 3rd year. It's made us better at doing what we were already doing successfully before.
Love it. How have you found that dynamic with? Sorry, I'm dying with a cough today. I got it about 2:00 and I was like, I've got a podcast later. Please don't carry on. And it's just got worse. But how have you found the dynamic with the recruitment entrepreneur business? Because obviously you started off in their Kensington office. You're now over in Liverpool Street creating your own culture, I imagine. How has that dynamic evolved with Abid and James and the team
over time? So I think that I can't really think about like how it's actually evolved.
Can't be the same as when you're sat there every day though as a one-man band.
Yeah, but to be honest, the level of like autonomy you have, even when you're in the office, I think you would probably find surprising. Right. Considering the way that it might sound, and that I was kind of sat 3 desks down, but literally the how I would work with them is obviously reporting into them as a normal investment company would. So on a monthly basis, like I said, talking about your figures, strategy, challenges, wins, different people in the business development, etc. But even when I was based in the office, I would mainly go and see Abid or something if there was a question I was struggling with. So like, I don't know, a business development question or a people type question, which is pretty much the same as now. And then I guess obviously I have moved out of the portfolio office, which I did a couple of months ago, which is fantastic to build our own culture. But then from a perspective of like being part of the portfolio, I do miss seeing the other CEOs on a daily basis because one of the advantages of being in this setup like I was is instead of kind of feeling on your own, I had 17 other people if not more, because some of them were co-owned
Yeah.
businesses that were again like going through the same challenge. So you could always like drop them an email. I think it's really, really important that when you
Do they have any like rival brands in the pub? Or are they always different sectors?
there's a couple of, I think there's a couple now that are focused around kind of accountancy. But I don't know if they're necessarily like head-on rivals.
Yeah.
But to be honest, everybody wants everybody else to do well.
Yeah.
And I do think it is really useful when you are starting a business to have a line into somebody else who is having a really similar experience to you, so you can have that time where you're like, oh my goodness me, like I just can't cope with today is a day where it feels completely impossible. So well done, that's so amazing, you won that client or you hired that person, like how did you do it? And then share that like knowledge. And
we all, I mean, luckily I had business partners, but I still crave that person above. And recently I've got a series of mentors now that couple of I take for breakfast, one I pay like a fee to on a monthly basis, another one we trade services. But they all have a different element of what I was looking for. Some are from recruitment backgrounds, some marketing, some about growing big business. And I think it's really important that you've got that network of people to share and bounce ideas off, because it is lonely. It's really lonely.
And also some headspace, because sometimes when you're in the day-to-day and the thick of it, and you know you've got this issue to solve over here, and you know a lot of the job as a CEO and founder is troubleshooting and trying to remove the friction of from everybody else's working day, basically, so that they can crack on and generate revenue, make placements. So sometimes having somebody you can speak to bounce off new ideas and think about how you're going to develop your business can be really, really useful.
So how is the relationship with James? Have you managed to see him? Does he pop in a lot? Or?
Yeah, I was with him last week.
Really?
So I mean, he's based abroad, but he was back last week, so I went to his offices in Grosvenor House to go and see him. We took a couple of snaps that we're going to use for some promo material. And we normally see him about 4 times a year. And that's normally a session focused around something specific that maybe all the businesses are aspiring to do. So maybe we'll talk about talent attraction, or maybe we'll talk about scaling the business, or whatever it may be, in like an open forum where we'll basically he will normally talk to us, and then we will have the opportunity to kind of ask questions and like delve down into his experience, which has all been really useful. I
mean, I obviously was at the event when he spoke, and I was like, I mean, he's great on TV, but he was pretty good on that session. I enjoyed it. And what is he like when you get to know him? Is he as inspirational as you could imagine? Yeah.
So he certainly he makes an impact. And I think that's part of like kind of his persona. And then when you talk to him, one-on-one, he's very open, honest. He's given me some really useful personal advice. And I think he just wants everybody and all the businesses to do well. So he's happy to share and advise accordingly.
So we're now 3.5 years, 7 staff. Sounds like, I mean, what you've done is pretty remarkable. What's the plan? Where are you heading?
So by the end of this year, our big plan is to focus on establishing the more senior division. So now we've built 300 clients in the SDR part of the market. That's obviously 300 clients who are still hiring at other levels in their business. So hopefully now we've earned that credibility at that level. We now want to take the opportunity to maximise that. So next on our hiring list is looking for somebody who's going to come in and help build that division. We've already made placements, and we've got the track record of being able to do it, and the candidate database. Just helping to find the more senior people. Right. So at the moment,
salary level of what, like 40 to 60k or something?
Yeah. I mean, basically, it's not necessarily for me about salary levels, but more looking for the right person and understanding the value that they're going to bring.
What I mean is, though, what you recruit for, the salary levels, that's the difference. Is it the same sales role, but just further in their career, right?
Yeah. I mean, they could be anything from 40 to 75 probably.
So you effectively as well, 3.5 years, you're going to have some of those candidates you originally placed who are going to reach that point, 3 years of going, well, where's my next move?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
If you just do grad, you'll never replace people twice, really, unless they move really quick. So it's Clever. So what's the long-term vision for the business?
So we want to go global. So obviously, having had the taste of the Big Apple, I guess you could phrase it as, we've got aspirations again to grow the business over there. And how long that's going to take, I think realistically that looks at as establishing and growing the people that we currently have to be at a skill level where we don't all need to be in the same place. So I think that's probably another 12 months off from where we are now.
So would you actually open it up in a specific, is it New York you'd go first?
Yes.
Any reason for New York?
Well, because we've done it.
Yeah.
So I think that helps.
You've got one client that you could always...
Yeah, we've got one client. We've placed more than with one client. We did the campaign out there.
Right.
We know the market. There are similarities between the UK market and what they're doing over there. A lot of our clients have got an office over there.
Bet, yeah.
People ask us for people over there more often than they do elsewhere.
Really?
But we'd obviously look to establish the market from here before.
Yeah, we call it incubate, right?
Indeed.
And then you'd maybe a WeWork in New York and replicate the whole thing.
Yeah, and I think obviously they're up for the model, so they like hiring SDRs. There's lots of young people who live there, and I think it'd be really exciting and provide a great career opportunity for the people who already work at Venatrix as well.
Have you got a long-term vision of selling the business, or is it want to work in it for a long time? Have you thought about I always get told start with the exit in mind, and a lot of people when they start a recruitment business, I think. They don't know that. They know they want to work for themselves. They want to potentially earn more money, maybe majority of their billings kind of thing. What do you think? What was your plan?
So I think obviously at some point I'll exit the business, but I'm certainly there and committed for the medium term, I would say, for now. So I'm not ready to hang up my phone yet. There's
no plan specific on 10 years or anything like that?
Not specifically.
No. So I guess one of the things, sorry, I'm really down with this. One of the things I've not done so much, but is talk about advice for the next gen. I always ask them a bit of reflection, but if I could invite 2 or 3 people that are listening right now into the room, what advice would you give them if you were going back to 3.5 years ago? What would be the words of wisdom that you would give them?
I think certainly focus on hiring the right people to join the business, because when I think about the superstars in my company who've gone on to place candidates and been really successful, they have been the standout individuals, basically, in terms of the qualities that you specifically need to work in my company, which is placing salespeople. So define what those qualities are and then stick to it in your hiring process. And that's really tough when you're growing quickly and you're conscious that you've got clients over here who are asking you to fulfill this brief, and then you're meeting people and you're thinking, oh, well, maybe this person, they have got A, B, but they don't have C and D, but maybe they could do it. I think that then leads to potential challenges down the line. So really stick to your guns in terms of defining the type of person that you want to hire, and then going after them hell for leather and meet as many people as you can, and build a pipeline of talent.
Yeah, I'd say that's one thing that it's very easy to fall out of the habit of, especially when you're a recruiter and you think like recruitment, but actually your own recruitment always falls on the back seat, doesn't it? I think James said something like he always has 8 people in a process at one time.
Yeah.
That's to protect yourself, so that whenever if someone leaves or there's a problem, someone will start the next Monday, kind of.
Yeah, or if you're growing and you do get that assignment, then you want to have already people in mind that could potentially do the job for you. And ultimately, it's a service-based business, so those people are representing you and your brand, and that's what you are selling when people sign up to you, the capability of your consultant. So make sure you really concentrate on getting the right people that you've defined into the business. And then the second thing is be patient. There is going to be really hard times when you just don't know where that next client's going to come from, or for us, maybe we have an assessment centre and
can you remember any specifics? Is there any moment that you can look back on and go, Christ, that was a low point, or just a soft point?
I don't know. Realistically, I've had so many of them now that because they can happen on a monthly basis, can't they, or on a weekly basis? Realistically, in our time of trading, we've done well in terms of financial results, and there's only been a couple of months where we've lost a bit of money that overall hasn't really impacted where it is that we've got to today. But when that's happening, and when it happens for the first time, that is horrendous because you don't, you think, well, are we ever going to make money again? Can I, am I going to cover the overheads? Yeah. Which, if you've never had that experience before, that is terrifying. And part of that, if you haven't been in business before, is educate yourself on how businesses do operate, and that happens to lots of businesses.
Yeah.
And in that moment, the absolute key is to keep calm. And then I think, on the other end of the scale, then when you have a really good month, celebrate it because you need to take the opportunity to, give yourself a big pat on the back. And again, that's hard in a fast-paced environment. As I mentioned earlier, sometimes it's easy to forget about all the things that you have achieved. So, make sure you celebrate the times that you've done really, really well.
I love that. But how's your life changed in the last 3.5 years?
So I think that when you run your own business, you can't ever forget about it.
No.
No matter how much you try, no matter how much you try, I guess, because sometimes you probably need to give your mind a bit of a break.
Still always there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't help it.
I love it, but it does drive you nuts.
Yeah, and you kind of get used to it over time.
Yeah.
I think at first that was quite probably a bit of a shock for me in terms of just how much time I spent mulling things over, and you wake up in the middle of the night thinking oh, this candidate, this client, or whatever it might be. And now it's probably just I can let my mind think about it, or I can just think, actually no, probably don't think about that now. Think about it tomorrow. And I think the best thing that I do to cope with that is making lists of exactly what it is that I've got to deal with, so that I can have my weekend or my evening to have a break and know that I've organised already the next things that I've got to do.
You strike me as an organised person, though. I get an organised vibe off you.
Potentially, I think I'm what people have commented about me is that I'm a very productive person. So basically, I can do a lot of tasks very quickly, which might come across as organised. And I think over time I have learned to make it more organised, because otherwise if you operate slightly chaotically, other people find that difficult. Will. Yeah. So that's, I guess, something I think I've learned over time.
Anything that people need to be really wary of?
What do you need to be really wary of? I really think it is that understanding of thinking about the long term, that just there are going to be days when it seems really, really tough. And when you're in your own business, those days are really, really hard. They're times 100 your worst day at work where you were previously an employee. And I think being prepared for that is important, and understanding that's going to pass if you've got passion in your vision, you believe in what you're doing, you provide a good service that is honest and authentic to candidates and clients, that's placing the right people in the right companies for as often as you can do, then you will make money, because companies, if you're in the right industry, companies want to hire people. Yeah,
true. So that's pretty much all I wanted to know, and I hope that you've enjoyed it. I think you've definitely done an amazing job, and I can tell why you've been a success. And I'm excited actually to bring you back on in a year or so and see where you are then.
Me too.
And the guy, obviously, a lot of people listening to this might not actually be starting a company, they might be looking for a new job. So would you take experienced recruiters if they reached out to you? Are you interested in interviewing new people and meeting new people?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking for somebody for the senior division right now. So somebody with some experience who can come and help establish a new-ish part of Venatrix, and also looking for somebody to lead a team in the graduate division as well.
So what background do you want from these people?
Somebody who's got I'm relatively open. It's more about the person for me, and the attitude and their ambitions in terms of where they want to take it, and have they got a plan, a hypothetical plan that they would put in place to get where we're trying to get as a business. But somebody who's been a top performer in the business that they're at between 2 and 4 years, I would look at basically for either of those roles.
Well, if you're listening, get in touch. Are you open for anyone to reach out on LinkedIn and just ask advice or any questions?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So LinkedIn's the best platform.
Please.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
all right. Well, I'll tag you in all the posts. Well, look, thanks so much for coming in. This will be released next week. So we are. What is the date today? It's the late May. I'll get confused. I'm getting married in 5 weeks, and my head's just lost the plot every 5 minutes. But it'll be released in the first week of June. So anyone listening, please do reach out to Elaine. Any questions, she's more than welcome to reach back out. I always end the podcast by saying, if you are enjoying this podcast and you're listening on the iTunes store, please do give us a 5-star rating and put your comments in there, because it allows us to reach more people. Likewise, if you've seen a post from myself or Elaine or anyone on LinkedIn, give it a comment, give it a share. Let's get more people listening. The more people, although it's a little bit about competition, it's not. You could say that we're supporting the next gen of recruitment owners and that's your competition, but actually there's so much about the war on recruitment and whether or not it's turning into robots and all that nonsense. For me, the more we support and stick together, actually, the more we protect the industry and we fight for margins and we're proud of what we do. So I hope you enjoyed it. Another episode coming up next Thursday. See you soon.